become a cliche, to put it mildly, to bemoan how thoroughly god-awful 2016 was. But some things become cliches for a reason. Lesson learned, I guess. Maybe next time we shouldn't waste an entire year's worth of miracles on baseball. But you know what? This show is about theme park fandom, and this past year has actually been a pretty interesting time to be a theme park fan. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter opened in Hollywood, Soarin' got a global update, and of course DCA's Tower of Terror plummeted into the Twilight Zone for the very last time. But I've already made videos about all that. For this year in review episode, I thought I'd bullet point some of the big theme park stories of 2016 that I neglected to cover until now for some reason. As the year began, Disneyland was still celebrating its 60th anniversary from the previous year, and for some reason ABC waited to air a TV special about it until mid-February. But it's generous to say that TV special was about Disneyland. It was structured more like an award show without the awards, a bunch of pop stars covering Disney songs not written for the parks, in between montages of Disney movies and celebrities taking the stage in front of thousands of paid seat fillers to say stuff like this.
Disneyland is a place where you skip, where you leap, you buy balloons, and you hold them proudly.
We literally have never done any of those things.
Also, in a special allegedly about Disneyland, they scheduled Kermit the Frog to perform right before Idina Menzel. Dick move. But there was one genuinely cool segment. Harrison Ford himself, looking almost like he wanted to be there, showed up to introduce plans for Star Wars Land, which finally broke ground on both coasts early this year. They didn't reveal much, mostly a bunch of concept art, but they did reveal that the land's two big e-tickets both look like motion simulators. 'Cause Lord knows theme parks don't have enough motion simulators. Still, both will apparently break some new ground, for Disneyland anyway. The Millennium Falcon ride looks to have something of a sandbox video game aspect, and the First Order Battle ride looks like it might be a trackless dark ride. Star Wars Land is currently estimated to open around 2019 or so, and we here at State of the Parks will keep you updated on further developments if we feel like it. Speaking of trackless rides, the first American trackless ride of any sort opened in March 2016. Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters opened in Cars Land, thankfully replacing Luigi's Flying Tires, a woefully misbegotten throwback to Tomorrowland's old Flying Saucer ride from the 60s because John Lasseter was nostalgic for it. Seriously, that seems to have been the only reason why Luigi's Flying Tires was even a thing. The Flying Saucers were possibly the most impractical ride system, if you even want to call it that, ever devised, and they closed for a reason. And in the 50 years since, the technology did not bother to improve. The one time I ever rode Luigi's Flying Tires, the seatbelt tore off the bottom two buttons of this shirt. So out with the old, in with the new, as Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters give us cars that dance around in seemingly random trackless patterns as if by magic. So Europe gets a sweet trackless Ratatouille ride, and America gets a trackless kiddie ride with the Cars characters. Get what you give, I guess. Speaking of cars, in August it was announced that Disneyland will be building a massive new parking structure across the street from the resort on the east side of Harbor Boulevard. The 7-story, 6,800 space structure, set to open in 2018, will complement the Mickey and Friends parking structure which already exists just northwest of the resort, and it will include a new public transportation hub, a pedestrian walkway over Harbor Boulevard, and a ramp leading directly from the northbound I-5, thus eliminating the last remaining possibility that SoCal locals need ever drive past non-Disney-owned Anaheim ever again. You hear that, Walt? That'll show those tacky opportunist bastards who ruined the sea of orange groves around your whimsy kingdom. Where were they when you were down on your knees in the middle of half-constructed Main Street in front of God and everyone, begging Jack Rather to build a hotel? Huh? I'll tell you where they were. They were off saying, "You fool, that'll never work," and then they swooped in when it did. So to hell with Anaheim! To hell with the free market itself, in fact! Viva la comparación! What just happened to me? Anyway, another feature of this new parking structure will be a new security entrance to be located just before you cross the eventual bridge over Harbor Boulevard. In fact, security all over the resort has been beefed up in the wake of the horrific Pulse nightclub shooting and other recent tragedies. They've added metal detectors for the first time ever, they've gotten rid of the one security checkpoint that used to be just west of the parks, and replaced it with various security checkpoints at Mickey and Friends and the edges of downtown Disney. And believe it or not, I completely agree with this decision. No one wants to see innocent people get shot in any circumstance, and let's face it, it was only a matter of time before some open carry lunatic brought a gun to Disneyland. again.
Little Betsy, my one and only Betsy.
At least this way, you go through the metal detectors and bag check as soon as possible after you park your car or leave your hotel room, and not when you're right about to enter the actual parks, which was always kind of a buzzkill. And if you accidentally bring a selfie stick like some common hooligan, you no longer have to take the tram all the way back to Mickey and Friends just to put it back in your car. They've also banned and stopped selling toy guns, including Star Wars blasters, which will make it quite a bit harder in the future to get shots like this.
Just back away, man.
You read the Bible, jerk.
The job of killing him is now officially mine!
Sic semper tyrannis, bitch.
It's a trap, it's a crime.
Okay, that's it. Did I cause this? You know, the highest profile tragedy on Disney property in 2016 didn't even involve a gun. So why not ban this? And this? And this? And this? And this?
Do you want to build a snowman? Come on, let's go and play! That's what you want it for!
Alligators are dangerous animals, kids. Don't let Disney tell you they're cool. Anyway, in lighter news... zombies! Universal opened a Walking Dead attraction, creatively titled The Walking Dead Attraction. Really? That's what they're calling it? It's essentially a permanent Halloween Horror Nights maze, and I've never seen an episode of The Walking Dead in my life. So yeah, I can't really judge this one. Frankly, if it doesn't empty out into a Chris Hardwick gift shop, I ain't interested. Moving on to Florida, Skull Island Reign of Kong opened this summer at Universal's Islands of Adventure. Just in time for a different studio to start putting out King Kong movies. Good timing. I haven't been to Florida to ride it yet, and I respectfully refuse to watch YouTube videos of it until I experience it firsthand. But I've heard amazing things. I mean, just getting to see Kong as a gigantic animatronic again, as God intended, I mean... that's gotta be worth the price of admission alone. And later on in the year, Universal continued unveiling its ever-growing ambitions with the announcement of Super Nintendo World, an immersive-themed land set to eventually open in Hollywood, Florida, and Japan. I've never played a video game in my life. Okay, that's not quite true, but I have way too little gaming experience to be able to discern what any of the buildings in this concept art mean. It's pretty, though. It's a little redundant, though. I mean, isn't the whole park already an adaptation of that GameCube game where you go around picking up garbage? We don't know exactly what part of Universal Hollywood will hold this land, probably an expanded lower lot, but in Florida, the rumor is that Super Nintendo World will replace Woody Woodpecker's Kid Zone, so if I were you, I'd ride the E.T. adventure as many times as possible while you can. Moving on to the Florida resort that respects its own history sometimes, Stitch's Great Escape at the Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland has officially become a seasonal attraction, operating only during the most crowded holiday weeks. Now, I'm no fan of Stitch's Great Escape, and it's not terribly easy to find someone who is. And for good reason, it's not that good. It's a cheap, weak sauce replacement at best for the far superior alien encounter. Having said that, I really hate it when they make attractions seasonal, because it always means the same thing. We're gonna permanently close this eventually, but in the meantime, we don't want to pay to staff it year-round. The only attraction to ever recover from seasonal purgatory was the Carousel of Progress, because that was a mediocre attraction that Walt approved. Stitch was just a mediocre attraction that people other than Walt approved, so who cares, right? I mean, speaking of video games, I've heard rumors that they want to replace Stitch with a Wreck-It Ralph ride. That sounds awesome! Stop dragging your feet and just do that already, Disney, come on! And speaking of Disney dragging their feet, it looks like Epcot will finally get a massive overhaul sometime in the years to come. It already kinda started to happen this year with the opening of Frozen Ever After, which rethemed the Maelstrom ride at the Norway Pavilion. People have been asking me about that ever since I kinda predicted it would happen in a commentary 3 years ago. And I really do love Maelstrom. I know it's not very long and there's no song or anything, and it just gets no love. I wanted to shine some attention on it before it inevitably gets turned into a Frozen ride or something. Yeah, it really didn't take a genius to see that coming. obviously. I mean, as much as I liked Maelstrom, I'm man enough to admit that for years it was one of those lame duck past its prime rides that was only still running because they had nothing to replace it with. It was only just barely popular enough to avoid becoming seasonal. Frozen was a massive mega hit for Disney, and it took place in Scandinavia, guys. Sorry. I was disappointed to see Maelstrom go, but it was way too inevitable for me to be all that devastated by it. And it looks like the future of Epcot will be even more character-driven, with heavy rumors that a Guardians of the Galaxy ride will replace Ellen's Energy Adventure. Maybe it'll be a clone of Mission Breakout, maybe its own thing, we don't know yet. And I'm a little disappointed by that too. I mean, sure, Ellen's Energy Adventure is dated as all hell, but I still really like it in spite of that, and Epcot seems to have more than enough room to build new rides without replacing old ones. And if you're gonna replace an old one, why not Mission Space? I mean, that's already a space travel ride. You wouldn't even have to change the infrastructure to retheme that to Guardians of the Galaxy. Still in all, given the choice, I would much rather lose Ellen's Energy Adventure than Florida's Tower of Terror. Anyway, no other details were revealed for Epcot's future plans, but Disney Parks and Resorts chairman Bob Chapek promised that Epcot would remain true to its original vision. No one's entirely sure what that means, but personally I'm kind of hoping he means original vision, as in Walt City of the Future. Not for real, obviously, but maybe the conceit of the new Epcot could be that it's fictionally supposed to be the city of the future that Walt envisioned while laying on his deathbed 50 years ago. Wow, it's really been 50 years, hasn't it? And people are still second-guessing what he would have done. He would have been 115 today, for God's sake! Anyway, speaking of dead visionaries, the Muppets finally got their own land, kinda, as Disney's Hollywood Studios' woefully inadequate excuse for a pizza planet got replaced by Pizza Rizzo, right across from Muppet Vision 3D, thus officially turning that area into Muppet's Courtyard. Sure, it's not a full ride, or the long-rumored Swedish Chef cooking school eatery, or a second season for their recent short-lived sitcom, but you know what? In a world where DCA's Muppet Vision Theater is just showing movie previews, I'll take it! But of course, the big Disney park news of 2016 was the grand opening of Shanghai Disneyland this summer, and with it came a glorious scapegoat for every perceived shortcoming of the American parks. I swear to God, if Twitter had existed decades ago, they'd have complained, "Why is Mission to Mars closing? Thanks, Paris! Why doesn't Epcot have more rides? Thanks, Tokyo! What happened to the Hatbox Ghost? Thanks, Florida! Walt's making half the animation staff build a carnival or something? Thanks, Anaheim!" As for the park itself, some of its opening day highlights included a Tron roller coaster and an all-new take on Pirates of the Caribbean. And perhaps most significantly, it's the first Disney resort to ever open without a Main Street entrance area, because 1900s small-town America really holds no meaning to Chinese people. Like, at all. But of course, no sooner had the park opened for trial runs than it became overrun with people littering, vandalizing, and generally treating the property like garbage because humanity can't have nice things. And elsewhere in China, the Iron Man Experience, the first of many, many Marvel rides destined for Disney parks, had soft openings in December and its grand opening just last week. What else does 2017 hold for theme parks? Well, there's Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, of course, not to mention the Hall of He Who Must Not Be Named, but I've already discussed those at length. Disneyland will finally be giving Toy Story Mania and the Matterhorn bobsleds fast passes and rolling out a new system called Max Pass, which for a fee will allow you to reserve fast passes from a mobile app. I hope this doesn't throw the whole Fast Pass system into total chaos, but it probably will. The Disneyland Railroad will finally reopen this year after being shut down for Star Wars Land construction, as will Tom Sawyer Island and Fantasmic. And when Fantasmic reopens, it's rumored to be getting a new Pirates of the Caribbean action sequence to replace the Peter Pan sequence, which actually fits theming really well, since Fantasmic happens right across from the original Pirates ride, which of course will celebrate its 50th anniversary this year. So the same fanboys complaining the Guardians ride won't fit theming at DCA are probably happy about this, right? Right? Right?
Boo! It's not what we're used to! Boo! Get him off the stage!
Also opening in 2017 will be Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon at Universal Studios Florida. I'm kinda mixed on this one. On the one hand, it can't possibly be worse than Twister Ride It Out, which is what it's replacing, and the flying theater ride technology looks pretty cool, and it'll be really nice to have a ride in the New York section of the park that's actually about New York. But on the other hand, the last thing this park needs is another bloody simulator. And the ride concept sounds way too much like Superstar Limo 2 Lost in New York. And of course, it's Jimmy Fallon, a comedian so safe and bland and non-threatening that I'm pretty sure he's literally just 3 puppy dogs in a man suit. But I know it's gotta be family friendly, and I must admit, I'm kinda starting to miss hearing Tramtastic at the end of the studio tour, so this could be fun. But of course, the big theme park news of 2017 will come from Disney's Animal Kingdom, which at long last is set to open Pandora. Pandora, the World of Avatar. Based on James Cameron's groundbreaking sci-fi epic, which captivated the imagination of people everywhere, and most certainly wasn't just a boring as tar empty spectacle that made all its money on the back of the IMAX 3D novelty. No, sir. And now the Imagineers are expanding Cameron's epic vision into an entire theme park land. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sure it'll be fun and impressive and immersive and astoundingly pretty and all that good stuff. I mean, I didn't like the movie, but I'm sure if you turned just about any 5-minute stretch of it into a thrill ride, I'd like that thrill ride just fine. But an entire land? When was the last time you heard anyone talk about Avatar? Do you remember seeing any gift shops or restaurants or sidewalks on Pandora? This is going to be a colossal waste of money for Disney. I mean, they wanted something that could compete with Harry Potter, and this ain't it. I mean, Star Wars Land is going to be it, but they already committed to this before they bought Lucasfilm. For God's sake, there was only one Avatar movie. I know Cameron keeps saying he's going to make sequels, but after all this time, I'll believe that when I see him. Or rather, don't see him. I'm not paying to see that crap. So, did I forget any major theme park news stories of the year? If so, inform me in the comments. And until next time, I'll leave you with this piece of news, which I wanted to save for last. Starting later this month, the legendary Main Street Electrical Parade will make its triumphant return to Disneyland. And to promote the parade's return, Disney released this commercial in which a cast member enters a warehouse full of stuff that used to be at Disneyland. It's loaded with Easter eggs, a Captain Rex here, a submarine voyage sea monster there. In just 30 seconds, this commercial contains more love and respect for the 60-plus year history of Disneyland than the entire 2-hour anniversary special. Maybe 2017 won't be so bad after all.
Well, Betsy, my one and only Betsy, I can travel far and wide with Betsy by my side. Yes, sir, this is the kind of
big section of Animal Kingdom where we were gonna build Beastly Kingdom? Well, we never did. What should we build there instead? Avatar! Really? Because that movie's only 2 years old at this point, and it's already started to recede in relevance. And it doesn't even have that much to do with animals. Avatar!
Cause Rippy the Gator went chomp, chomp, chomp. Rippy the Gator went chomp, chomp, chomp. Passing the time by ending children's lives down in the bottom of the swamp, swamp, swamp.